because it is very telling, isn't it, that he's talking about returning to the UK, at least for part of the year, when we know Meghan has no intention of ever returning to the UK. I'd be surprised if she ever sets foot on British soil again, because she's so terrified of the fact that she would be booed anywhere she went in public. And I think in reality, there's a chance that could happen.
Yes, well, I think there's every chance that could happen. And yes, you're absolutely right. I don't think she will ever set foot back into this country. But and then, which means, of course, if Prince Harry does set up a temporary home over here, he will be not seeing her for months at a time, perhaps not seeing his children if he doesn't feel that it's safe enough for them to come over here.
Breaking right now, Prince William has turned the tables on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, with someone very close to the royal saying there would be no way he would consider allowing Prince Harry back into the fold until he and his wife, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, receive an apology from the Sussexes. And I'm joined now again by Rafe Hale-Mancoux, the royal historian and commentator. Rafe, what's so beautiful about this is that we've been hearing for so long all of Prince Harry's ridiculous demands for an apology from his father and brother, God knows what for. And actually, the reality is there's only two people who should be apologising, and it's Harry and Meghan, surely.
Yes, and what a wonderful journey we've been on, because you'll remember originally Prince Harry said he wouldn't attend any royal events, wouldn't come back unless there was an apology. That then was then forgotten about, and he did return despite having no royal apology. But yes, you're absolutely right. Look, all of the venom, all of the attacks have come in one direction through this terrible memoir Spare of Prince Harry's, through this Netflix documentary that we've had, through these Oprah interviews where we had, Meghan mocking her late majesty and so forth. The cruel calumnies, the slanderous words about not only Prince William, but about our Princess of Wales and about our current Queen, and the hurt that caused the royal family. And that base accusation, perhaps most terribly of all, of racism within the royal family, about who was talking about the color of the child's skin, as if any mixed race family don't have those discussions. There's not a black family in the world that wouldn't have the same discussion if their son or daughter married a white man. And for months, Prince Harry allowed media speculation, did nothing to dampen the flames for months before finally saying something. But by that time, the damage had been caused. And I think that is unforgivable. I would be surprised if I were the Prince of Wales, even to accept an apology, because apologies are as good as the person who's saying them. And there would need to be some really contrite way in which you could demonstrate the genuineness of that apology, rather than it being done for some other ulterior motive, just to essentially find a new role in life, as I think Prince Harry now wants to seek.
Yeah, because this is what the various sources close to William are saying, Rafe. So, a former courtier tells the Daily Mail there will be no reunion until Harry and Meghan apologise to their royal highnesses for everything they have said, and there is no sign that is likely. But then a friend of the royals said it's hard to see a reconciliation. How could there be when William and Catherine have the justifiable fear that anything they say could appear in a future book or repeated in a TV programme? Then, in reference to Catherine, who has been undergoing treatment for an unnamed form of cancer, another pal of William said there is one member of the family who William is keen to see returning to public engagements, and it's not Harry. And the thing is, Rafe, from everything that I am told, William has absolutely no intention of forgiving Harry. Harry was warned that there was a consequence for his actions, and he went ahead with them. And now that it's all gone so terribly wrong in California, he's looking for a way back. But isn't it a case of too little, too late?
Far too little, far too late. The damage has been done. And for any relationship, the foundation of any relationship is trust. And when that trust has been violated so gratuitously, when you have essentially no faith that anything you say in private will be made public. I mean, to have such private things relayed in public, if you're going to believe them, I mean, how on earth can you possibly come back from that? Particularly when you're in somewhere like the royal family, which is so sensitive. Let alone the damage he's caused to his grandmother and his grandfather, both of whom William adored, and in their final years of their lives, They had such pain and hardship from the hurt caused to them by Harry and Meghan, let alone that important period between the king's succession and his coronation, when all focus should be on positivity around the monarchy. There was such an air of negativity in a dark cloud. Imagine doing that to your father too. The king, of course, is a Christian, and I think he was still hoping for that prodigal son moment where you open your arms to the exiled son. But Prince William, I think, has none of that, and I think perfectly understandable. I don't know what any of us would do in that situation that would necessarily be any different. But it just goes to show, I think, the degree to which Prince Harry is now lost and flailing around in California. He doesn't have a role there. He doesn't have any commercial or business abilities like Meghan does. She's got her American Riviera orchard. She's got what she wanted to out of this relationship. She was able to use her marriage to him to try to make her an A-lister, or at least move in A-list circles. And she's trying to make herself into a sort of Gwyneth Paltrow goddess on a Martha Stewart level. Prince Harry can only be a prince. He can only play polo. He's very limited in what he can do. The only thing he understands is royal duties, and I think he understands that now. We've seen, of course, the attempt in America to create a royal court in Montecito. Their website's been rebranded. Their children now have princely titles. They've got these fake royal tours of Colombia, Nigeria, and so forth. That's because that's all that Harry knows how to do. And I think he's realizing there's nothing like the real thing, and his life is quite vacuous in California, as of course it was for the Duke and Duchess of Windsor in France.
Indeed, so many parallels there, aren't there? Especially between Meghan and Wallace Simpson, but I think also actually between Harry and the Duke of Windsor, and the fact that actually his life after leaving the royal family just wasn't what he expected it to be. But what do you make of what's going on in their marriage, Rafe? Because there was a source close to Harry in the Daily Telegraph this week trying to say, oh, just look at Harry. You can see how happy he is. Well, actually, no, because in the unposed photos in Colombia, he looked utterly miserable and he was doing everything possible to get away from his wife. So do you think that there could be issues in this marriage? Because it is very telling, isn't it, that he's talking about returning to the UK, at least for part of the year, when we know Meghan has no intention of ever returning to the UK. I'd be surprised if she ever sets foot on British soil again, because she's so terrified of the fact that she would be booed anywhere she went in public. And I think in reality, there's a chance that could happen.
Yes, well, I think there's every chance that could happen. And yes, you're absolutely right. I don't think she will ever set foot back into this country. But and then, which means, of course, if Prince Harry does set up a temporary home over here, he will be not seeing her for months at a time, perhaps not seeing his children if he doesn't feel that it's safe enough for them to come over here. I always try not to speculate on things I don't know about people's personal lives and relationships, but I would simply say this marriage was always about Meghan. This was all about Meghan using the royal family as a means to elevate and promote herself. There's nothing, no one is so blind as those in love. And I think everybody else can see that quite clearly. And she's attained what she wanted to. She was always a California princess, and now she's living that life. That's not the world that Prince Harry was born into. It's not the world of tradition and ritual. And I think, having turned his back on his true friends and having relied so much on Meghan's PR team and so forth, that must have caused upset and a feeling that in some sense his best interests weren't being served and he had to play second fiddle. I think the fact that Meghan retreated from him so much in the last couple of years when he was having his war with the royal family, she didn't want to get tarnished by any of the fallout from Spare, completely absent. When you would hope and expect your wife to be your strength and stay and support you through all of that. I wouldn't be at all surprised if there were those sorts of tensions. And certainly if Prince Harry comes back to England, you can only imagine that things will get further down that line. And what you were saying earlier about the Duke and Duchess of Windsor is very true. They're both living in California now. And I remember the hairdresser of Wallis Simpson, the Duchess of Windsor, doing the hair of the Duchess in their Villa Windsor in France. And as he was doing her hair, he looked out into the garden and he could see the Duke of Windsor with 6 or 7 pug dogs. And he was trying to get the pugs to obey him, and they wouldn't obey him. And he thought, my God, this man used to be the King Emperor in command of millions of people. He now can't get his dogs to follow him or obey him. And I think in a much smaller sense, Prince Harry's probably thinking, what have I thrown away? I've lost all the respect of my family and so forth, all my military regiments, everything that gave me some sense of certainty and identity and confidence in life has now gone and evaporated.
Yeah, and for what? For what? But all right, guys, it is the best time of year because football is back. We're talking Premier League in the UK, in the US, NFL Sundays, and college football Saturdays. And with that comes the glorious grind of fantasy football lineup. So this is where your inner manager comes alive, setting the perfect fantasy roster, screaming at your TV, and making last-minute waiver moves that either make you a hero or the guy everyone ridicules in the group chat. But listen, while you're over there making sure your fantasy team is dialed in, don't let your personal grooming become the guy that gets left on the bench. Let's be honest, nobody wants to fumble their grooming routine, and that's where Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra comes in, acting as your all-in-one grooming playbook. From keeping things sharp down below with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra to taking care of those rogue nose and ear hairs with the Weed Whacker 2.0, this is the lineup that'll keep you looking and feeling like a champ on and off the field. It will help you feel clean, confident, and ready to dominate your fantasy league. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra Groin and Body Hair Trimmer is the franchise player of your grooming roster with precise trimming capabilities. It's reliable, efficient, and gets the job done without fumbling. Whether it's for date night, a weekend tailgate, or just everyday grooming, this is the tool you want on your squad. No one wants a surprise nose or ear hair making a guest appearance on the game day. That's why the Weed Whacker 2.0 handles those details like a pro, keeping you neat and ready to go. No missed tackles in your grooming gang. And the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra doesn't stop at grooming essentials. It also comes with 2 free gifts: the Boxers 2.0 Midnight Bravo and the Shed 2.0 Toiletry Bag. Premium gear to ensure you're always ready for action, whether at home or on the road. Join the over 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by heading over to manscaped.com. Use the code OUTSPOKEN for 20% off and free shipping. Trust me, you'll be drafting the real MVP of grooming this season. www.manscaped.com. Use the code OUTSPOKEN at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Stay on top of your grooming gang and be ready for anything this season throws your way. As a royal historian, Rafe, you have obviously looked closely at the members of the family who are in the line of succession but not direct heir to the throne. Isn't there also just the crushing reality for Harry that his years of relevance have effectively gone? Because all of the focus now is surely going to turn to the children of the Prince and Princess of Wales, and especially George, but also Charlotte and Louis. And so even if he were to return, it's not like he's going to be some homecoming hero.
Well, we're just under 10 days away from his 40th birthday, and time is no friend to Playboy
No.
princes, as
And the
Prince
hair is
Andrew,
going. The hair is going.
as the Duke of York knows all too
Oh,
well.
yes.
It's the sad fate of younger brothers to become ever more irrelevant. And whilst they're slightly still, youthful and in a celebrity world of the young and the beautiful, they will still make the covers. But nobody expects Prince Andrew to have been even if he hadn't gone through what he'd been through, he wouldn't be on the covers of magazines. Once you become a middle-aged prince, you cease being relevant to the paparazzi, you cease being relevant to the talk shows and the newspapers and so forth. It's an inevitable end, which is why you have to ensure that you spend your time as prince making sure that you have a full and fulfilling life that pleases you, which unfortunately doesn't seem to be the case for Prince Harry, who will, of course, increasingly become an irrelevance as focus then goes on to the young children, not only, of course, of Prince William and of the Princess of Wales, but also, of course, we've got the wonderful royals working, of course, the future working royals in the form of the children of the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh as well, who are going to become, I think, even more important in the years to come, helping to fill up the void caused by the absence of the York.
I really hope so. They're such a lovely family, and I was one of the people who was campaigning for Edward to become the Duke of Edinburgh, and thank goodness Charles actually did allow that to happen, because you remember there was a while where he was wavering on it, and I think it is really good, and we should see that family boosted because they're exactly what royals should be. Do you know what, Rafe? Sometimes I think it's in comedy that you see the absurdity of a situation. And you know, one of my favourite comedians is this brilliant Andrew Lawrence, who actually first found fame for his videos mocking Prince Harry. And guess what? Today, he's back as Harry, and it's brilliant. Watch this.
Neither my father nor my brother have said sorry explicitly for the way they've treated myself and my incredibly popular, accomplished and successful wife, even though they've shown no outward signs of regret, remorse, contrition, and we're not really on speaking terms. Nonetheless, I accept their apology, tacit as it may be, and even though they haven't asked me directly to step back into the royal fold, to take on some royal responsibilities, I know that that's what they want. I like to think that I'm still one of the most respected members of the royal family, even in the face of all evidence to the contrary. Obviously, things are going really well for me out here in Montecito. Lots of friends, not lonely at all. Of course, the deals with Spotify and Netflix didn't work out as well as I'd hoped, but we push on undeterred. My relationship with my wife is better than ever. She doesn't let me in the house as often as I might wish, but what we find is the less we see of each other, the stronger our love grows, and also less chance of me sustaining physical injury. Anyway, what I'm saying is, if I was invited back into the royal fold, I would certainly consider it, even though things are going really well for me out here, and I'm absolutely not regretting any of my life choices. So yeah, William, if you're watching this, you know, I've messaged you a few times, WhatsApp, text message, email, Facebook, Insta, just loads of messages actually. Just get back to me when you can. Please get back to my phone.
Isn't that brilliant? And you know what? Very close to the truth, because William is not returning those messages, Rafe. He's not.
I think that's a pretty accurate accurate monologue there, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if some version of that actually came out of Montecito at some point in the near future. What more can you say? You said it perfectly.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please do subscribe if you want lots more clips and interviews like that. Plus, if you want to watch our totally uncensored after show, then visit www.outspoken.live.